Hi there folks, welcome back to the ongoing coverage of the Selby Endurance Sports Car Championship coming to you from Twin Ring Motegi. They have just over 1 hour to go in this race, and since we saw you last, they've done well over 250 laps around here. But before we get into it, I'd like to introduce my co-commentator tonight, Scott Nolan. Welcome, Scott.
Yeah, g'day Bernie, g'day everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting last hour to this race. I heard earlier there was quite a battle going on in the HPD class, and if we have a look at that class as it stands, we've got Fusion Sim Racing, the 145 leading the way, Redback Racing Team Black, they're only 2.3 seconds down. We've also got TD Racing in the mix here with 19 seconds down from the leader, so any three of these guys can still win it. Then Redback Racing Team Red, they're 4 laps down. In 4th, 5th, VPR, 6th, LMTI. Then we've got Razorback Racing in 7th, and in 14th is Misfit Motorsport. Now, that car has retired, Scott.
Yeah, they had a bit of a strange incident about 3 or 4 hours ago. They were in the pit lanes and did a driver change, and as they came out of the pits, I think it was Rory Boyd, one of their drivers, just must have had a malfunction with his hardware and just went straight ahead into turn 1 and straight into the wall, and I'm pretty sure those guys are retired.
Yeah, that's a shame, because that was the breast cancer awareness entry today, and it really looked stunning in all that pink, so hopefully they'll roll that out for the next round.
Yeah, it was a good little bet that they had on with VPR, I'm pretty sure it was, and it was good to see a nice pink car out there going around.
Oh, it certainly was, and we can see now one of the Redback racing cars coming past the Audi and goes past cleanly. That was Daniel Benefield in that car. Daniel was going to join us tonight in the comm box, but as you can see, he had to opt out of that option because he's pretty busy there behind the wheel.
Yeah, Daniel's doing a great job, and it's been a tight battle for that top 3 positions in the HPD class. All 3 teams have led at some point during the race, and Fusion are holding on there, but only 2 seconds back to Daniel and his Redback racing car. It's going to be a tight battle for the last 58 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly is, and if we look at the lap times they're doing, Fusion Sim Racing, they're our leader. They last lap 1:38.943, and the Redback boys, their last lap was a 1:38.827, so only 1/10 of a second quicker, and if they want to catch them, they're going to have to probably pull out a faster lap than that. Yeah,
but still a number of laps to go here, so plenty of time. Don't think they need to, push too hard yet. They just need to be consistent, and hopefully traffic doesn't play a part, but traffic can play a part, and whoever gets the best run through the traffic will probably get the win.
Yeah, I'd say so, and the traffic's not that bad tonight because of the small turnout we have at Twin Ring Motegi. But I guess one thing Redback boys have as an advantage, they can see their target, and that might spur them on a bit more. That gap's now 2.5 seconds, and we'll continue to monitor to that.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and looking at Class B tonight, Fusion Sim Racing and 347, they are leading the way there, and they're actually just up 1 lap by the looks of it. Oh, sorry. Selby.com.au is winning Class B GT3. Fusion Sim Racing 347, they're 1 lap down in second. Proforce Racing GTI 3 laps down in third. Then we've got the Fusion Sim Racing 348, 7 laps down in 8th. 4th, I'm having a rough one tonight. 5th is Triads Racing 1, 8 laps down. And the Lone Wolf Sim Racers, they have retired from today's race.
Yeah, that's correct. They were an early casualty. there. But it's been pretty good. Surprising about Proforce, haven't had the pace that they've had recently. Also a massive driver lineup with 5 drivers all getting in that car at some stage in this race so far. So pretty surprised about that. But I'm sure that their elite will get back in. I'm sure Ross Rizzo's not far away, or will jump in that car if he's not already in that car. And he's clearly the guy with the speed. So maybe they can make up some time and put a run at the 2 ahead of him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they've got Nathan Mankey in that car at the moment, and I guess with 57 minutes to go, we can expect one more pit stop, and then it's going to be a race to the finish line. So looking at Class C, that's our GTE class, and ARM Racing, the 340, they're the only car left running at the moment, and they're in the Ford GTE. Laser Racing was leading that race, and unfortunately the Ferrari has retired. Do you know what happened to them, Scott?
Look, I think they dropped a few laps down and just decided to call it quits. And I think a few of their guys run in the Scott, so they might be looking at that as well this evening. So not entirely sure what happened to them, but there wasn't any major incident that flagged a safety car or anything like that. So I think they just sort of called it quits and parked it and come back another day.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of the teams will be focusing on Scops tonight, which is, I think, one of the reasons why the numbers are a little bit down this week. But I tell you what, they're missing a fantastic track, and it looks awesome under lights with all these cars all lit up.
Yeah, it is. It's quite an interesting track. I hadn't run the track before, and I did a couple of laps earlier in the week, and very technical track. And the one thing that really put me off was the 2 start-finish lines that you go off. I sort of was looking down to see what lap time I was going, and then realising, I'm at the wrong part of the track here. So I don't know if that's caught anyone else out with going to the pits or something like that. I'm sure they're much more professional than that, but it's really interesting, really technical track, and then to have it under lights just throws in another dimension.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I think it's one of the best tracks for night racing, just the way it's all lit up. And it's also challenging. The pit entry, though, they could throw a few more lights in there. That looks a little bit dark, but nothing that the drivers can't handle.
Yeah, no, that back end of the track is a little lacking of a bit of light, but these guys have been going pretty well, and they would have done plenty of laps through the week and leading up to this race, so I'm sure they would have been all over it.
Yeah, for sure. They'd be out here practicing and making sure they know exactly where the braking markers are. We can see the LMTI car now coming past the Ford GTE car, as well as one of the HPDs, that's Fusion Sim Racing, going through as well. So the traffic looks like they're handling it pretty well. Now Fusion Sim Racing are flashing the lights because that's Craig Edwards there leading, and he wants to get past LMTI because, of course, not far down the track we have the Redback Racing car, 3.3 seconds down now.
Yeah, so it just seems to be losing the battle in regards to the traffic, and you can see that in the lap times. Craig Edwards did a 37.8. Sorry, a lie. Did a 38.7 last lap to Daniel Beldenfield's 39.0. So obviously a bit of traffic there holding him up. So Daniel's just got to manage it. Still plenty of time here. I'm looking at the lap count, and it looks like we've got about 31 laps left with 54 minutes on the clock. So still plenty of time.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time. They just have to make sure they don't panic, keep that those laps consistent. We just saw a spin there by Frank Rosenbauer in the Ford GTE. He gathered it up again. He had the Redback Racing car on the inside of him, and he just lost the rear end.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of lazy spins today from the ARM boys. They were a last minute switch to the Ford. I think only as of yesterday or the day before running the GTE, and so they're still coming together, to grips with the car, and probably really struggled to build a setup for this track. So it's been a bit of a hit out for them. Hopefully they'll continue to run that, and the numbers will grow a bit for the rest of the rounds. Hopefully some more people will jump on board. Numbers have been very high in the IMSA series, so hopefully some more people will jump onto the ESCC and run a Ferrari or a Ford and have a bit of a battle at the next round.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic because they look like a great car. I haven't actually driven them, but we just had a really close call on the main straight there with Daniel Benefield. He had the LMTI HPD trying to pass one of the GTI Mercedes entry, and he actually boxed in the LMTI entry, and that HPD wasn't very happy with him. He was flashing the lights for a couple of straights after that.
Yeah, it's the whole thing with multi-class racing is, you really just got to hold your line, and, the HPDs are the ones that have got to get around you guys. So, try not to move under braking or run a different line than what you normally would, and they relatively get through unscathed, and, but there's always some minor close calls that happen.
Yeah, that's right, and I think Matt Zimmerman was probably a bit unhappy with how close they came. They nearly crashed into each other. That's the two HPDs. The GTI entry, that's Nathan Mankey. He was holding his line and basically did a good job because it was getting very dicey around him. We have heard from Nathan's team as well, and they're saying to us that Nathan's going to stay in till the end of the race now.
Okay, so I guess Ross has caught up with other plans, but those guys are obviously in contention with Fusion for the overall series points. So I think they'll be a little bit disappointed, especially third's still great for them, but I know they set high expectations and they've been doing really well throughout the series. So a bit of a points back to Fusion and Selby today, and it's just going to make it tighter into the next round, and as we close in on the final few rounds of the championship.
Yeah, they were. The team was saying that they basically just did not have the pace tonight, and credit goes to the other two teams who have basically just outpaced them. So, but they'll bounce back. They always do, and third isn't that bad. It's a podium position and some valuable points going their way.
No, they do a very good job. Proforce, they've been the people to beat so far this year with Fusion and Selby. All three teams are very, very professional, and the guys that run them, Sean Thompson and Ross, and also Nathan Hapatz for Selby, and Scott Stevens and Reece Gardner, and that with the Fusion Sim Racing. All those teams do a very, very good job, and it shows. Because they're always at the front.
Yeah, that's right, and as they say, cream always rises to the top. And we can see the Tryhards racing car out there. Actually, Derek Nichols is driving that, sitting 5th in class, 13th outright.
Yeah, looking good there with the gamer gloves on the side, and he's doing a pretty solid job, Derek, running in the mid 150s. So again, probably a little bit off the pace, but Derek's just a solid contender. He'll just put in a nice consistent run, and not many incidents, and he'll always get the job done.
Yeah, and of course Gamer Gloves is one of the series sponsors, so we're always happy to have them on board, not only supporting the series but also supporting Tryhards Racing. Do you know much about the Gamer Gloves and where people can get them?
So exactly what they are gamer gloves. So they're obviously competition gloves that guys can use on their wheels. I don't have a set, but I know a few guys in the Tryhards group do have them and do run them. One of the boys that's in the team, I think, is a seller of them, so he stocks them. I think they're from the US. But definitely search for him on Facebook. I'm pretty sure they've got a Facebook page, and if you want, get some. I think they're relatively cheap. I think they're like $15-20. I'm not sure if that includes postage or not, but if you're looking for something to keep that Alcantara wheel looking good, then give Gamer Gloves a look up, and you might find a bargain.
Yeah, definitely check that out. I know with my wheels I always wore gloves for that very reason, to make sure it stayed in as good a condition as it possibly could, and it also makes you feel a bit more racy. But we've also got in the combox with us at the moment Nathan Hapats from Selby. Welcome back, Nathan. It's looking like Paul Mansell's doing the business out there tonight.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting actually for the past 3 hours. We're gaining on the 347 car. 3.5 hours ago we were 40 seconds behind, so we nearly managed to catch up, and Paul's just nearing a double stint on tyres at the moment, so we still have to do a pit to the end, and the 347 doesn't.
Okay, so they're basically on the same lap. I can't get an actual gap though.
Yeah, they're a minute 8 seconds behind at the moment.
Okay, so it's going to be really close by the time that car comes in. Your car comes in, takes service, because that normally takes around about 44 seconds without entry and exit of the pit. So it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, that's right. But in order to maintain a gap, we want to come out in front like we did earlier in the race. I did a triple stint. We'll be triple stinting as well, so we won't be taking tyres.
Well, here he goes now. Paul's just dived in the pits on cue, and we'll see how he goes here, because this is a critical stop, folks, for the GTR win, I could say. I'm building it up, you see. That's what media does.
It's a critical stop. We're all holding our breath at the moment, so just here watching Paul in the pits here. It will take 88 litres of fuel. Take too long, and then we'll be straight back out. So we should come out in the lead, but as to whether we can hold them off for the next 45 minutes, that'll be the question.
Yeah, well, we're trying to see where Trent is on the circuit at the moment, and
we're just on the other start-finish line at the moment.
Yeah, coming down the back straight. So, and Paul's out, so he's done it quite easily, really.
Yeah, it won't be too much of a gap though, I don't think. And we're on. Actually, our setup for the Audi, as the fuel fell off, we were really able to improve our lap times. So we were actually expecting the Fusion car to run. They had another 10 laps of fuel, the 1 hour remaining mark. So we thought they'd run quite a bit longer, but they came in and pitted on the hour and our lap times, and thought, well, with a light car, we're actually lapping probably quicker than we would be with a full tank anyway, so that's why Paul stayed out and ran the tank dry.
So the new gap is 19 seconds from the Selby car to the Fusion car, so it's going to be close.
Yeah, so that's just a bit over the length of the inner straight there, or a fair bit over that, so we'll see how they go. Looking at the lap time, it was 1:48.785 to Fusion Sim Racing, and we'll see what sort of time the Selby car does. But Paul and the Selby team, they did a 32.2 stop, so you guys weren't mucking around in there.
No, triple stinting. We'd never done it before this race today, and I'd only joked about it in the broadcast earlier, Bernie, but when I was getting to the end of my second stint, I said to the boys, I reckon these will go another round. So we did that, and it actually worked okay, and it gave us a lead at that stage of the race. So we were willing to roll the dice again, and that's what Paul's done.
Well, I suppose the good thing about running in the night conditions, the track temperature is quite low. So the track temperature at the moment is 21 degrees. So, unlike previous rounds during the daytime where we've got a 44 or 46 degree track temp, the tyres, aren't getting pounded in regards to heat, so they could survive.
Yeah, you're right, Scott. And when we were looking at the data earlier, I think my first stint, my best times were sort of mid to low 47s, and then in the second stint I was sort of high 47s. So we really only probably lost maybe half a second, if that, and then even into the third stint, it was still able to do a couple of flat 48s. So that it wasn't all that much degradation, and it also meant that it takes another 24 seconds to take tyres in the pit stop. So we ended up with a 40-second lead after that triple stint, which was really good, and until safety cars bunched everyone up again.
Yeah, and looking at the weather, we'll bring that up now because it has actually changed a little bit. The wind speed's dropped, so it's down to 10 kilometres an hour. When we started the race, it was 14, and the track temp's actually gone up 1 degree. Earlier today, it was 21 degrees. It's now gone up to 22 degrees.
Yeah, that doesn't tend to change too much, unfortunately. I think Scott would probably agree. Us as sim racers, we'd love it if the weather was a bit more dynamic. iRacers, dynamic weather is fairly static. That doesn't tend to affect things too much. The biggest effect I think we see is when the track really rubbers in. You either tend to get a setup that goes away from you, or a setup that comes towards you with lap time. So the track's quite rubbered in now, and lap times still seem reasonable, but the track does feel a little bit slower.
Yeah, and looking at Class A here, the lap times, 0.3 of a second. Redback Racing were quicker than Fusion Sim Racing, but that gap is remaining at 3.4 seconds. Then in Class B, we've got Paul Mansell for Selby leading Trent Thomas for Fusion Sim Racing. Looking at the lap times, Fusion Sim Racing took about just around about 0.3 of a second out of them. So I can't actually see the live gap here. So we might get you to call that one, Scott.
Sorry, who are you after?
The gap between Selby back to Fusion Sim Racing. I think it's got here 3.899 seconds on my telemetry.
The gap is 18.4.
Yeah, 18 seconds at the moment. So we've just had a bit of movement in Class A. So VPR have just come in and taken their final pit stop. So they've dropped back behind LMTI in that battle for 5th and 6th, and also Daniel Benefield just bought the Redback Racing 102 car in the lane from P2. So it's just done a 44-second stop through the lane, and it's back on track.
Okay, and they've come back out around about 18 seconds ahead of Colin Schweck. David Baxter's also in it, and if you look at the battle here, this is the battle for 3rd and 4th. We've got David Baxter just getting past TD Racing, and so the battle is on for the final step of the podium here.
Yeah, I think David's a few laps down behind Colin, so I think that's pretty safe. The battle at the moment with the top 3, so Benefield's made his final pit stop. He'll run to the end. Not 100% sure on Craig Edwards and Colin Schweck. I'm pretty sure Craig's still got 1 stop to go, and not sure about the TD boys, where they're sitting in regards to their fuel.
Okay, no worries. I was getting all excited here about this really close battle, and it's not really that close at all. As you said, David's 4 laps down, but I guess, you know, it's a matter of how quickly Colin can get past him, because the gap up to the other Redback car is 7 seconds. And then, of course, there's something, yeah, because he's pitted, of course. So, do you think Fusion's due for another stop before the end of this?
I would imagine so. I'd imagine that Fusion's still got a pit, and I would imagine that Colin Schweck's still got a pit in the 137 to get home. Okay,
we can see the Fusion boys coming past Selby. That's the Class A leader back to the Class B leader. And I guess, Nathan, it's a shame we've only got 1 GTE out there. Did you know what... oh, yeah, that's right. I think the Laser boys parked it, didn't they?
Oh, I think they did, yeah. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's good to see the other Ford out there having a run around, and we had a few little battles with it in a pretty similar pace to us, the rest of the GT3 field tonight, so it's good to have a bit of variety in there.
Yeah, it certainly is, and they're a great looking car, both of them, and for the people that haven't driven them, we'll actually jump into the 340 now and just check out the inside as he goes off. Beautiful timing there. But, we'll jump on board with him.
So we've got Craig Edwards in the pits from the lead.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on this. It also looks like one of the GT 3 cars is in. That's the GTI car as well. So we'll keep an eye on them on the final stop. Now looking at where the redback car is now, I think they're just coming off onto the back straight now.
So when the redback car entered the pits, there was about 3 seconds a gap between the Fusion and the redback car. So Daniel's team is obviously maybe going for the undercut. I don't know, 3 seconds is a bit game, but depending on traffic, it might work, it might not.
Yeah, well, their stop was 24.2 seconds, a blistering stop for Fusion Sim Racing. 22.8 seconds. We can see redback coming out down the line now, but flashing their lights to get past the GTI car, which they do. That gap was and Daniel nearly spun it there. The gap was 7.7 seconds, so they've lost, about 4 seconds.
Yeah, gap out. The live gap at the moment is out to about 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, so the pit stop, redback did 24.2 seconds. Fusion Sim Racing 22.8, so they're both double stinting the tyres. 37 minutes to go. It's not that far to go, really, is it?
No, as we mentioned before with Nathan, with the cool conditions, double stinting and possibly even triple stinting is definitely an option tonight.
Yeah, and we can see now the TD racing car is still trying to get past the other redback racing team car, and yeah, so we'll see how long it takes him to clear him. He's down about 5 seconds to the other redback car, so he'll want to clear them pretty quick if he can. To jump on board now with Colin Schweck here for TD Racing. It's a pretty good result for these guys as well.
Yeah, the guys have been very consistent today, and they've stayed out of trouble. We haven't seen too many incidents from them at all, and yeah, they're just going to try and bring it home, battle for a podium. So not sure if they've got it in them to get on to the second step or the top step of the podium. They're about 5 or 6 tenths slower than the 102 at the moment, but if any of those front 2 cars slip up, they're in there.
Yeah, well, the gap now is down to 10.4 seconds from TD Racing to the leader, and 5.2 seconds to the 102. Now, the 101's gone into the pits. It's freed up TD Racing, and saying that he's run wide, outbraked himself, so that's not going to help him. I was about to say, let's see what he does once he's freed up.
Yeah, the one thing we just got to keep in mind is to whether Colin has to pit. So I'm not 100% sure what their fuel is like and when they last pitted, but they may have to do another stop.
Yeah, Colin's on his 24th lap, so I think he'll have to pit, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see. I guess that's going to open that gap up again. So really we're looking at the battle between Redback and Fusion Sim Racing. Looking at their lap times, Craig Edwards had a bit of a slow lap that time, 142.683 compared to 140.671. But I guess both of the tyres on these cars are probably starting to get a little bit second hand.
Yeah, they could very well be. I'm just keeping an eye on the times between Nathan's car here with Paul in the Selby car and Trent in the Fusion Sim Racing car. Very, very close on times. Looks like Trent was about 4 tenths quicker that lap, but I think Paul got into a bit of traffic, but it's going to be a very close battle for that race as well.
Hopefully not. I think the times, they've caught us by about half a second or a bit more. But Paul's doing an awesome job on these really old tyres. They've done at least 70 laps now, and he's still doing pretty good times.
Yeah, I was going to say 149.076 was his last lap time.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job, Paul, and he's relatively new to your team. Is that correct, Nathan? He come over in the off season at the end of last year.
Yeah. He came over and has been doing a bunch of events with us, including the endurance rounds here and other GT3 racing. So it's been great to have him on board. He's obviously a fast and capable driver, and adds a lot of depth to the team.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, we're just riding on board with Paul then as he's coming off the back straight there. He's got the team VPR, HPD behind him, and no doubt the HPD will wait till they get through the tight part of the circuit, which he does, and then he'll use the crazy speed of that HPD to blast past him.
I'll tell you what, back at the front, Craig Edwards is putting the foot down in that 1:45. Last lap, a 39.0 to the redback car of a 40.8. So pulled now to a 7.2 second lead. Let's see. Hopefully Daniel can respond and give us a bit of a challenge. But and he does with a 39.4. So it's a battle of the lap times up the top there, and I'm sure they're both going as hard as they can at the moment.
Yeah, there definitely will be, and I know Daniel won't lie down, nor will Craig Edwards. As we can see now, Daniel going wide, so it's showing how much he's pushing. But it'd be interesting to have a look at their incident limits. No doubt they're all well within the, I think, 63 incident limit cap today.
It's 93, Bernie. I think some of those cars look like they've used up quite a few incidents too.
Yeah, I know a couple of cars that are close on incidents. So I know with the 2 hour mark, with 2.5 hours left, I know one car in the Class A only had 20 incidents left. So I won't give it away as to who that was, but I know there's a couple there that are going to be pushing the incident limit come the finish.
Okay, so it's another twist to the tale here at Twin Ring Motegi. So Nathan, I'll give you the choice, mate. You can either stick with us till the end, or you can get back to your team. It's up to you, mate.
I think I might head back to Discord with the team here and give Paul some encouragement so we can bring home a really good win if we can.
No worries. Well, before you do, though, give us a shout out to your sponsors.
Yeah, there's one quick shout out again, obviously, to Selby.com.au. If you look at M Gear or Hi-Fi Gear, then please go and check it out and support a series sponsor.
Yeah, fantastic, and hopefully the viewers will go and check that out and support a business that supports our e-sport, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, Scott. Talk to you guys later.
All right, see ya.
Have a good night, mate.
You can see now the redback car just coming past the Selby car, and tell you what, Scott, not sure if you caught it, but Nathan sounded a little bit nervous.
I think he is. So they've had a bit of a lean run of late. I think they were pretty disappointed with how they ended up at Le Mans. Off memory, and I know Nathan's been out with a broken leg, and I think Le Mans was his first race back, possibly. So I know that they expect big things from them guys, and they want to be up there pushing for the win. And it hasn't happened as much this season as to previous seasons in the AEC. So I'm sure he'll be really, really gunning for this win. It will mean a lot to him and the boys, but. Yeah, there are definitely some nervous soundings in that voice.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think he jumped out of the comm box as quick as he could, get back there and start talking his driver home. They've got 29 minutes now. What I was saying earlier, folks, we'll jump inside the Ford GTE, and one thing you'll notice is can you notice it? The inside lights. It's not that noticeable, is it?
I think you can notice it, how it just lights up the cabin a bit, and it's a very interesting, thing that they've done in this car. And I'm not sure if the Ferrari's got it. To be honest, I haven't run it at night, but these two cars are just amazing. And I've driven both of them, and I've done a lot in the Ferrari, and they're just amazing what iRacing has done with these cars, and they just bring another dynamic, and they're excellent to drive.
Yeah, and we just saw the screen. You could see the HPDs closing up, and that must make it easier for the drivers as well. But basically with the cockpit lights there, the reason they do it, folks, is to reduce the strain on the driver from going to the well-lit areas of the track and the not so well-lit. It allows their eyes to stay pretty much adjusted.
Yeah, and that revision screen as well there to the driver's right of the steering wheel there is pretty amazing. The extra shift lights, and it's just a really well done package that iRacing have put together, and everything they do, they seem to do it well. If it's dirt, or new cars or new tracks, they just seem to be a class above the rest. And these two new cars that they've brought out are no different.
Exactly right, and you're dead right about iRacing. They do make sure when they release a product that it's not rushed out the door, but it meets their stringent standards. And of course, even then, they're patching. Like I think there was contact there with one of the Redback HPDs sideswiped the arm racing entry.
Yeah, that was Daniel Benefield in second position. Daniel will be just starting to push the envelope now. He'll be wanting to get past these traffic, with a bit more urgency. 6.7 seconds is the live gap at the moment to Craig Edwards, so it's just starting to drift away. So he'll be wanting to pull that back in with only 16.5 laps left in this race.
Yeah, well, he's taking chances, isn't he? Because we're riding on the in the Ford GT3 when he came through, and Frank went wide there, but even going wide, almost running off the track, it wasn't far enough off for Daniel, because he just sort of clipped him as he went through.
Yeah, and it's something you need to keep in mind, as you come to the closing stages of the race. Guys like Arm and probably a few of the GT3 guys that sort of aren't racing 100% for position. You just really got to take it careful when the leaders come through that are battling, and hopefully your team are telling you and talking to you, because you really don't want to be that guy that ruins a finish of a race or something like that. And at the moment, they're trading lap time for lap time, and the two at the front, and Daniel is trying his hardest to close this gap, and you don't want the race ruined by lap traffic. So these guys have probably just got to give them a bit more room if they're not racing themselves within a race, and hopefully no issues to the end.
Yeah, definitely, and we can see now that gap 6.6 seconds, and the gap from Daniel back to Colin Schweck TD Racing is pretty close to 10 seconds there. 10.02 seconds, I think the gap is.
Yeah, I just think Colin just doesn't quite have the pace of the front two. The leaders are running, mid to low 39s, and Colin's just scraping to the 39s with a 39.9 last lap. So just struggling to hang in there. As Nathan pointed out too, we're pretty sure he's still got a pit stop to come. So it might be a short fill, but I'm pretty sure he will have to travel down pit lane one more time.
Yeah, I think we'll keep an eye on that and see when he has to do that. But we can see Craig Edwards there, Fusion Sim Racing, still leading. We'll see what that gap is now. Daniel can see him, and just can see him in the distance there as he's coming up on more traffic here. So Scott, do you know where the next round is for the Endurance Series?
Oh, you put me on the spot, Bernie. I'm not 100% sure, but
that's what I do. I always throw someone under the bus and ask them a crazy question.
I can do a bit of digging if you want and find out.
Yeah, it's 4 weeks away anyway. I was just wondering if you knew, that's all.
I take it one week at a time in this game with work and everything like that. You never know where you're going to be.
Oh, exactly right. It's looking ahead at this week for RRTV, folks. We've got tomorrow night the Skip Barber Monday Lights, 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and that's GMT plus 10. come and join us, because it's getting really interesting in that series. We're getting a lot of Europeans down for this season. In fact, I think in the top split we had more Europeans than we did Australians, and that's the Australian Strength of Field race. And then, of course, the following Sunday, I think we've got the Australasian Super Skips back on. So it's a fairly quiet week on RRTV.
So I've done my research, Bernie, and it's the Nürburgring GP for next round.
Okay, awesome. That'll be a good race too. Although I reckon they should have just thrown them on the Nürburgring, the full-on one, and watched them all go crazy.
Oh, that would have been a sight. Would have been a sight.
Yeah, I don't even know how people could memorise it. It's such a long track.
Yeah, it's a very long track, and it's a real frustrating track, because especially like trying to set a decent lap time around there, if you get it wrong, you've got a long way to go back to do another one.
Oh yeah. And can you imagine trying to qualify, how long it's going to take you to do just one lap? They'd probably only give you a one lap to qualify, and then you'd be pretty much out of time anyway.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. So I think the GP is a much better fit. I think that'll still be a great race. It's an awesome circuit, and I really like that configuration of circuit. I'd much rather run that than the Nordschleife. And it doesn't get run very often, to be honest. Everyone sort of goes Nürburgring, Nordschleife. So for the guys running the series to put in the GP, I think it's a cool track to go and visit.
Oh, definitely. I think the Nordschleife is more, I see it more as a tourist drive. When you want a bit of fun and go and race or drive all these fantastic cars, that's where you go and just enjoy the experience. TD Racing have now come in for their final stop. 16.5 seconds was the stop, but that drops them down to 52.963 seconds from the race leader.
You read my mind, Bernie. I was just about to mention that. Yeah, so they've come in and now made their final pit stop. So the field is essentially cleansed. The only one that I can see out of the top few that haven't pitted yet is LMTI. Not sure what they're doing on fuel, but it looks like they will probably still have one pit stop to make. They're in 5th position, and they're in a battle with VPR for that sort of 5th and 6th spot.
And for the viewers that have just joined us, welcome. We have a total of 20 minutes to go in this race. Before we get into that, though, we'll paint a bit of a picture of where everyone's standing. So our retirements tonight, the 199, I think that was Misfit Motorsport.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. They have retired from tonight's race. Also lost the only and lonely Ferrari out there, Laser Racing, the 212. They parked that car earlier today as well. And then the 323 has also retired earlier today. But looking at each of the classes, folks, where the racing is at is in Class A between Fusion Sim Racing, the 145. We've got Craig Edwards driving that car, and Redback Racing Team Black, 5.87 seconds down, and trying to close that gap. And Daniel Benefield's driving that car. Then we've got TD Racing, and they are 53.5 seconds down from the leader, and that's your top three in Class A.
Yeah, so that battle for the lead is still on there. Just heard through my ear that race control green to the end, so no more safety cars for the last 20 minutes of this race. So there'll be no cautions to put Spanner in the works. So it's all going to be done on track now.
Yeah, so it's going to be quite an interesting and close finish in a few of these classes. If we have a look now, Class B, and where the drivers are here, Selby.com.au Racing GT3 is leading that, and Paul Mansell will bring that car home. But Fusion Sim Racing, the 347, they're trying to close the gap. That gap now 13.077 seconds So the race in Class B is definitely on as well. And of course Proforce Racing GTI, they round out your top 3 in Class B. They are 2 laps down now.
Yeah, that's right. And Fusion with Trent Thomas, he's excellent steerer. Trent, he does a really good job as well. He's, very close, but they're just not quite pulling in enough time. 2 tenths of a lap quicker on the previous lap there with a 48.3, plays a 48.5. So it's tight, but I just think they may run out of time.
Yeah, 18 minutes to go. You look at it and do a bit of maths. They'll probably only get, another 15, probably 14 laps in before the end of this?
Yeah, according to my telemetry, 11 to go as they just cross the line, the leader.
Okay, well, I was close. Give or take, 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, so a couple of things that we've seen in the chat now. So the talk is that the 102 is very safe on incidents, so Daniel can push the boundaries of the circuit to see if he can make up time. So that'll be interesting. Interesting that the team shared that. So hopefully Fusion aren't listening, but they'll know that Daniel's good on incidents and he can push as hard as he can.
Yeah, I can guarantee Fusion will be listening. But, Redback could be foxing them as well. You just don't know. But at the moment, the gap 6.017 seconds. You can see now Daniel coming through. And as we said earlier, Daniel was going to join us in the combox tonight. But as you can see, the racing's so close there that he had to get back in that car and go back to work.
Yeah, he did. So just had the tryhards 1 from 5th position in the GT3 class make his final pit stop. That's Derek Nichols in the 322. They've come in and just done an 8.2 second stop. So a bit of a splash and dash for Derek. No tyres and he's back out there. Sort of just circulating at the moment. He's a lap behind the 348 in front. They had a bit of a really good battle earlier in the race, but the 348 is just been able to pull ahead and get a lap ahead at some stage, and now they're pretty comfortable there in 4th and 5th.
Yeah, it's good valuable seat time for the drivers in that team. They can, look at how the car performs over the 10 hours and how the setup works, and not only that, get some good laps in.
Bit of a nudge there as well between Daniel Benefield and the LMTI there going through one of the turns. Daniel pushing the boundaries, trying to get through the traffic really quick, and I don't think the LMTI car was with Matt Zimmerman at the wheel was very happy. A bit of a flash at the lights as Daniel drives off into the distance.
Yeah, well, last time, as we're watching the replay here, last time through, Daniel actually boxed in the LMTI and they came very close to colliding, and once again, extremely close as we see it, the LMTI car tried to turn in, there was nowhere to go, and that's twice now that they've come close to having a big incident. Yeah,
so I've also heard in my ear as well that the leader is also very safe on incidents as well, so it is a full battle on for the lead in this race. It's just drifted a little bit now to 7.5 seconds, so Craig certainly winning the battle of the traffic at the moment.
Yeah, well, he's taking a lot of risks though, isn't he? It seems to be working so far, but you don't really want to be doing that too much, do you?
No, not with 14 minutes to go in a 10-hour race. Although it's great to have the win, to not make it to the end and to get so close, that so far would be disappointing for any of the teams that sort of put it in the fence now.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see on track here we've got Trent Thomas. His sister car, the 348 Robert Spicer, is behind the wheel of that car. As we see the Redback car thread the needle in between the two and makes the pass through them. So Daniel's not taking prisoners. The gap now 7.4 seconds, so it's starting to go further in the way of Fusion Sim Racing.
Yeah, so Fusion are closing that gap. Again, it's not at significant margins each lap, but the gap is slowly shrinking to Selby, and they've done well with their team there. They've sort of had the 348 as a bit of a rear gunner for most of the race. It's sort of every time they pit, they always come out sort of very close to each other. So I suppose it's good. That's why you have teammates to sort of help you out. So the Fusion guys are again doing a great job and trying hard.
Yeah, and that gap now 11.9 seconds. So they're slowly pulling in that gap, but it could be too little, too late.
Yeah, that's correct. 13 minutes, just under 13 minutes left on the clock. So as I said, the battle between Class A and the GT3 class as well this year has just been intense. It's sort of been a two-horse race with Proforce and Fusion in the GT3 battle, but with Selby on top at the moment and looking at taking the win, it could really bring them back into the race for the championship. And it's exciting, and it's the same with the 102 and the 145. The 145 has had it's been very not dominant, but it's had pace all year, and Daniel Benefield and the Redback team I think had the win at last round, so they would have been looking to double it up, but still 12 minutes to go, very close here, so they could still do it, but as time goes on, it's more and more looking in favour of the 145 there for the overall win.
Yeah, exactly right. They seem to be pulling that gap out. If we look at the times, I think Daniel Benefield, he only pulled in 0.004 of a second last lap, so that's how close they are in lap times. Yeah,
we're not seeing massive pace from either cars. I'm pretty sure they're probably on their second or third stint on tyres. They're halfway through they would have been halfway through a tank right now, so 16 laps each on their stint at the moment with fuel. So the best lap for them at the moment, the fastest lap of the race, goes to the 145 with a 37.8, and so times at the moment in the 39 about 2 seconds off. So not massive pace in the track. Could also, because it's rubbered up, but I'm pretty sure they're stretching for tyres at the moment.
Yeah, well, those tyres would be pretty much on the last legs, I think. So it would have been interesting to see if one of them had to throw on tyres on to see if it would have paid off. I doubt it would have, because it was so close to the end. They probably wouldn't have been able to make the gap up, as we see once again Daniel Benefield going on the inside of the 340 and almost colliding once again.
Yeah, he's on red hot attack at the moment, so he's working very hard behind the wheel of that Redback HPD. We just had LMTI pit for their final pit stop, just did a 13-second stop, so they are now fueled to the end, and they have dropped behind VPR in that battle for 5th and 6th, so not exactly sure what the gap is there. It looks like it's about 30 seconds from what I can see. So it looks like comfortable VPR there to hold a top 5.
Yeah, I've actually got them behind the 129, I think. Or have I? No, I don't. Sorry, I get confused on this circuit because it all looks the same.
You never know where you're at with a lot of sort of big hairpins and 2 start finish lines and lights and lack of lights. You gotta look everywhere. As well, I've just seen an issue here. It looks like, it's changed again. My telemetry's playing up as well. It just had Colin Schweck overtake Daniel Benefield, but it must have just been a timing glitch there. So no, they're all still running in the same positions.
Yeah, I had a bit of a heart start as well, because it looked like Daniel had dropped behind TD Racing there for a moment, but it all sort of cleared up again.
Yeah, it could have been just his internet. So I know Daniel does sometimes have issues with his internet. Sometimes I know I've looked at him bouncing around the track. It all looks good at the moment from what I can see on my screen, but could have been just a slight glitch and he dropped off our screens there for a minute.
Yeah, I think it was Daniel a while ago. He was actually racing and he dropped out of the server, and we were wondering what happened, and it turned out his father had gone and turned off the router and disconnected him.
Oh, that would not have sat well in my mouth. So I would have been having a dear old word to Dad about that.
Can you imagine the debrief over dinner that night? That would have been pretty interesting. We just saw just saw Daniel there. I think he might have had another run off, but he's definitely throwing it at the moment, throwing everything at that he can at Fusion Sim Racing.
Yeah, he is, and just looking at that gap from Selby to Fusion in the GT3 class, it's just maintaining there at around about 8 seconds at the moment. So Selby are doing what they need to do at the moment, and I'm sure Nathan's still got his fingers crossed there on his driver Paul, but Paul's a very, very capable driver. He's done really well in other series that I've raced against him in, and I'm sure he's holding out the nerves to get home.
Yeah, well, that gap now has come down about 2 seconds since last time we checked in with these two, and you can see in the background there Trent is just he's stalking him. You can see him. It's just a matter of whether he can get this Mercedes up there, and of course these guys are on well, it'd be interesting, did they throw tyres on these cars? Because Paul's last stop was a 32.6, Trent's was a 55, so maybe Trent's got fresh tyres.
Could be very much be spot on there, Bernie. I'm not 100% sure. I know Nathan was pretty adamant that his car was not going to throw tyres on, so and they definitely didn't. So they could have put tyres on. That could have been could be the reason why Nathan decided not to.
Yeah, because they needed to get that gap, and now it's a matter of whether the Mercedes on fresh tyres can actually pull that gap in. Looking at the time, he's only got 6 minutes 20 to do it, which, we were talking earlier about if they threw tyres on it, would that pay off? But it looks like they just, they're not going to have enough time.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and Selby have confirmed they're actually triple stinted those tyres on Paul's car. So considering how old those tyres are, they're over 70 laps wear on them. He's still circulating in the 148s.
Yeah, as we said before, with the track temperature of a night race, may have caught people out. Triple stringing and double stringing tyres could certainly be an option. I know that recent events definitely not an option with the track temperatures and that in the mid 40s, but a cool track tonight and some decent driving, being able to manage your tyres could definitely do that.
Yeah, well, it's an awesome strategy that Selby's pulled out here to be able to have a car set up in the cooler conditions, and to be that kind on the tyres while still putting in competitive laps.
Yeah, it's just a credit to their setup, and they've obviously worked hard. And I know I've run the Audi before, and it is not it's not a very easy car to set up. A lot of people in the community always say that the Mercedes is a bit easier to set up. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure they've both got their positives and negatives, but just that mid-engine of the Audi, of where it's placed to the front engine of the Mercedes, just very different cars to set up. So you really got to get a handle on how to set those cars up.
Oh, exactly right. And we can see now the Mercedes coming past 4 minutes 20. Looking back at Class A, Craig Edwards Fusion Sim Racing, counting down the minutes now. The gap has come out to 8.1 seconds back to Redback Racing. So it looks like that battle's definitely gone in the phase of Fusion Sim Racing. So it's great for both classes, isn't it? Considering the numbers we've got, it's very healthy that we've actually got a close battle for first and second in both Class A and B tonight.
Yeah, it is, and you know, that's what brings the race. Is now we come down to 2 laps to go, and you know, just a bit of a plug for the series. You know, the guys running the series, it's their first year running this series, taking over from the Australian Endurance Championship, and we've had dramas. We've had, you know, little incidents that have been unique to the series, but as every round goes on, it's becoming more and more professional, and you know, it's becoming really well. And I really encourage guys to jump on board. I know there's still a few rounds to go. This is a 10-round championship, and I think we're into round 5 or 6. So. You know, if anyone out there is looking for some endurance team events with the, you know, Ferrari or the Ford or the HPD or the GT3 cars, definitely get into the forums and sign up. I know that these guys will be definitely willing to take your entry, and you know, it is a good series on most part.
Yeah, well, a big credit goes out to Alan and the team that are behind this series, because without him stepping up, he never ran an event up until this series, so he's jumped in the deep end. But if he hadn't have done it, there would be no GT3 multi-class racing this year, so the community really needs to get behind the series and support it.
Yeah, and I know he's had a lot of help from, you know, the previous guys running the AEC, which was you know, Scott Stevens and his team, and they've been all, you know, very much accommodating as to give their time to sort of help to get this series running, and you know, credit goes to them as well, and a big thanks. It's really good how the community will pull together and you know, help each other out.
Yeah, it is good, and yeah, Scott offered his help, and Alan jumped on it when the offer was made, I think, and that was after Daytona, I think, the first round. But you're right, this series is just growing from strength to strength in the way it's being run each round. We just have to get the GT3 multi-class teams back in here to fill these fields out. I'd love to have at least 10 GTEs out there running. It would just be awesome.
Oh, it'd be amazing. And now I suppose we've got to get back to the action here, because I'm pretty sure a minute left on the clock. This could be the white flag or 1 to go. Pretty sure we are on the final lap at the moment. So Craig Edwards is looking like more and more that he's going to bring the Fusion Sim Racing 145 home in the lead. He just rounded up the back marker of the Razorback Racers 1, and now he's got his sights set on the checker flag.
Yeah, and that gap, folks, 7.4 seconds he's got to play with. And, you know, you can see the redback car down the road there. The lights are on, so close yet so far. But he could, you know, yeah, 17 seconds. He's going to get the white flag, and this will be the race finish.
Yeah, and credit goes out to him and Reece Gardner, his teammate, and I'm trying to think who else has jumped into that car today, but they're a very professional team. I know a few of the boys based over in Perth and some in Queensland, and here he is as he crosses the line to take the win. Craig Edwards has done it again for Fusion Sim Racing. What an effort.
Yeah, fantastic effort there for sure, as we can hear the fireworks go off. Made me jump. But Daniel Benefield comes home second in that class. And then we've got Colin Schweck. But let's jump down to Paul Mansell. And this is the winner of Class B. And gee, those fireworks sound great, don't they, Scott?
Yeah, no, great end to the evening as Paul coming through the last section of the track now, I'm pretty sure. Just trying to find him here. Here he is. Yeah, looks like he's only got a few corners left to run, I think. Maybe a bit over a quarter of a lap. So he's doing really, really well, and I'm sure Nathan and the guys at Selby will be so relieved to get this one over the line.
Oh, for sure. And it's a great effort by this team. They've been quite competitive. Earlier on it was Fusion Sim Racing, but the strategy Selby employed today in the second half of this race really put them in an unassailable position to win this. Trent threw everything he could for Fusion Sim Racing at this car, but it just wasn't enough in the end.
Yeah, no, valiant effort from the boys at Fusion Sim Racing in the 347, looking for the double, which I think they've done before, but there you can see it as Paul comes across the line to take the win. Very, very relieved man, I'm sure, and a great comeback from a couple of lean rounds. They are back on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, and the gap got down to 4 seconds by the end of it, and that gap was coming down very quickly, and that's because the Mercedes had fresh tyres, but time just was not on their side, as you can see there. Trent going past and giving Paul a bit of a wave to congratulate him. Great effort there. And
that's how it is here, they'll be all congratulating each other, and I'm sure they'll send each other a message and that in the server, and everyone will congratulate everyone, and that's what you want in a good good championship like this. Is just a bit of sportsmanship, and we got that at the end of this race.
We certainly did, and we can see now the Only and Lonely, sounds like a song, Ford GTE coming down the back straight here, and Frank Rosenbauer is driving that, and for Arm Racing.
Yeah, they've done it tough today, although they've been out there on their own. It's definitely would have been a good run for them just to dial out some issues, any issues in the car, but credit to them for jumping in the Ford and giving it a run tonight. And as I said, a few little issues along the way, but they got to the finish, and that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly right, and you're right there. This is the first time these cars in Australia, anyway, has run such a long enduro, and they'll have invaluable data on that car now when hopefully their competitors show up next round and support the GTE class. So we've got Nathan Pat's back in the green room. I wonder if he's still nervous. What do you think?
I think he'll be a very, very relieved man.
I reckon he'll still be nervous. You wait, I'll bring him up. Check if you can hear the waver in his voice. You can see now Paul Mansell's jumped out of the car. Hopefully he'll come and join us as well. Hi Nathan, welcome back to the RRTV Combox. Congratulations, the Selby Audi held out. 4 seconds was the gap. Looked like Fusion Sim Racing threw some tyres on that car, but time was pretty much against them.
Yeah, thanks guys. We're pretty pumped with that win actually. Although the total field wasn't too big today, there was some pretty strong driving in the GT3 field, and everyone drove really well, and they were quick, and yeah, it's good. Everything went our way. We made the right strategy calls and got there in the end.
Yeah, it was close racing up in the Class A as well. I think it was separated by about 6.6 seconds according to my telemetry. But getting back to you guys, Paul, how much did you have to settle his nerves? Was he concerned, or did he feel like he had that under control?
He was all right. He was pretty quiet, head down, and got the job done. So yeah, pretty proud.
I reckon we should have kept you up here, because we could have set the first on RRTV. We could have made you really sweat in the last 20 minutes of that race.
You would have heard a lot of well done mate, keep it smooth, that's it, the gap's still good, come on. Typical spotter talk.
Yeah. And what did Paul say about the tyres at the end there? Did he have much to say about it?
No, they're still pretty good. Yeah, he was saying that as the fuel came off, yeah, the balance of the car was good, and it was cruising at the end. We weren't really pushing too hard. We had 10 or 13 seconds at one point, so we knew we could easily give up a second a lap and get the win. So we were just keeping it smooth to the end. I'm sure he could have gone a bit faster if we really needed to.
Yeah, just managing that gap and not taking the risk, but it's quite a testament, isn't it, to the Audi and the setup you're running to triple stint tyres and not have a big drop off is a pretty good sign for you guys.
Yeah, it was good. We got a reasonable base setup to work with last week. We had don't often get a lot of time to get together and do setup work. We sort of most of us are weekend warriors, I guess you'd call it, and pretty busy. But yeah, we had a couple of nights where we got together and had a pretty structured sort of setup session and worked a little bit, tweaked a few things, and did a couple of long runs on tyres, especially on a worn track, so we knew how it was going to go. And yeah, it wasn't until I'd finished my second stint that I said to the guys, I thought, yeah, there's probably another stint in this. Give us an edge after the next pit stop. So we tried it out early in the race, and when it worked, we realised that that was a strategy option up our sleeve, and weren't planning on doing another triple. But when we got near the end of the race, it was really our only option if we wanted to go for the win, and we all agreed we didn't come here to come second, so we rolled the dice.
Yeah, it was a good dice roll too, and yeah, I know the FSR boys gambled the other way, but no, it was fantastic. Scott, do you have any questions for Nathan?
Yeah, first of all, just want to say congratulations to you guys. Back on the top step of the podium, as I mentioned. It's been a little bit of a lean run in this series, which has been mostly dominated by Fusion and Proforce, and I suppose it gives you great momentum going into the Nürburgring GP round next week, or in a month's time. Sorry.
Yeah, it's good to be back on the podium. We had plenty of podiums last season, but yeah, we really haven't had a chance to show it yet this year. We either haven't had a good setup or really haven't had time to practice and focus on the endurance races, unfortunately. And a lot of us are quite busy with work and doing a bit of travel here and there, so
broken leg.
Nearly broken leg doesn't help. It put me out for 2.5 months, so it was a bit of a turn up and drive. But this is the first event where we've actually put in a couple hours of practice, and it's been good. You know, we had good depth in the team today. Everyone performed well, and strategy calls are great. Everything went our way. It was good.
Yeah, you can see that. We've also, good spread with the laps there. Paul doing 130 odd laps, yourself 102, and Jason, who sort of hasn't been mentioned so far, but Jason doing 82 laps there. Great team effort. And also you've got Sean and Chris there, I suppose, helping out and spotting and stuff as well. It's been a real rounded team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And special mention to Sean. He was going to drive today, but we had a bit of a chat near the end of the race, and he said, look, fellas, if there's a chance we can win it by leaving Paul in the car, then keep Paul in the car. So a shout out to Sean for giving up a drive today so we could go for the win. It was pretty selfless of him to do that. Yeah, Chris wasn't available to help out today, but we all did a fair bit of work spotting as well and encouraging each other as the day went on.
Yeah, and I suppose my last question to you guys is, do you feel, in regards to the GT3 battle, do you feel like there is a bit of it's harder to set up the mid-engine Audi compared to the front-engine Mercedes, or do you think it just comes down to, obviously time in the seat and looking at your data, and obviously you guys have run the Audi for a couple of seasons now, so just being familiar with the car?
I think familiarisation is a big thing, and we honestly, we don't get much time to look at the data side of things. We do occasionally. The key for the Audi, I think, especially for tracks like this that have a lot of turns and braking, is just getting a good balance, so that you have a setup that works early in the stint and late in the stint. I don't think we got it quite right today. I think the first half of the stint we weren't. It wasn't really dialed in, but it felt really good as the fuel came off. So I think we probably went a little bit left when we could have been a little bit right, but on the setup. But overall, yeah, it was good. It looked after the tyres, and it was good today. But I think the guys from Proforce and FSR, they know that setting up the 80s is obviously different. We've got more experience in that than we have. Some tracks suit each car, like Le Mans. We didn't feel like we had much of a chance at Le Mans, but at Motegi, as soon as the car on the track, it felt pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. And mate, congratulations to you boys and the Selby team, and
thanks for being great sponsors of this series, and all I can say is good luck in 4 weeks' time, and hopefully you can back it up with another top step of the podium.
We'll certainly be trying. Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. And of course, Nathan, give a shout out to Selby.com.au, the series sponsor as well as your team sponsor, for backing you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sean's business. He's built a great business and really supports the community by sponsoring this event and a few others. And so, yeah, if anyone's after hi-fi gear or sim gear, go and check out selby.com.au when you get a chance.
Fantastic. Well, we'll catch up with you, I guess, Nathan, in about 4 weeks' time at the Nürburgring.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
All right, see you, mate. So our final interview of the night, Scott, looks like we've got our Class A winners, and that's we've got Heath Brennan and Craig Edwards down there. I'll bring them up. Did you want to start an interview with them?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So you throw you in the deep end.
Why not? Yeah, g'day Craig and Heath, welcome to the RRTV commentary box. Congratulations, another top step of the podium for the 145.
Yeah, thanks very much, Scott. Be with you and Bernie tonight.
Mate, it was a real battle there towards the end of that race. I know Daniel in the 102 was coming hard, but, you know, class act from yourself just was able to manage the gap and pull out the times when needed. How hard was that traffic in that final stint trying to negotiate, trying to hold off the Redback Racing black car?
The traffic was all right. Yeah, I was pushing very hard, and I think my right leg is about to drop off at this point. I was definitely kept very honest in that last stint.
Yeah, nice work, and also big congratulations to your teammates there, Heath and Reece Gardner, who would be at the moment commentating on another broadcast, but you know, Reece just does a solid job, comes in and does his laps during the middle of the race and hands it back to you guys nice and straight.
Yeah, Reece does a great job. Fredo had massive speed in the car today, but you know, you can't just let one guy drive, so we like to share it around a bit. I personally only did one stint. I was having a bit of trouble with the car, so I played more of a strategist role today, I suppose, a bit of a crew chief. And we needed it towards the end because we weren't 100% convinced that we could make the tyres and the fuel work to get the win over the Redback Racing Team Black car, because they were strong all day.
And I suppose another question is how does this feel, you know, after bouncing back from, I'm pretty sure it was a disappointing Le Mans race last round, wasn't it?
Yep, forgettable to say the least. Yeah, I think we were outside the 10 even last round, so to come back and get straight back up on the top step is pretty good. It's good to not let the 102 get any momentum going, because they've been quick all season. Bit of bad luck that finally disappeared from them last round, but yeah, good to get back on the top step.
Yeah, nice. And I'll throw it over to Bernie for any final questions. But from me, great job, guys, and another win.
Cheers, Scott.
Yeah, fantastic effort, guys, and congratulations, Craig and Heath. Looking at the times that were being set, it looks like the HPD didn't seem to have any trouble whatsoever with tyres in the cooler temperatures tonight.
The HPD can double stint tyres pretty easily. You could potentially do a triple stint on them, especially in this weather being such a cold track. We elected not to, just the way our race was panning out. So, and the couple of safety cars there as well, which kind of threw a little bit of a spanner in the works in terms of how we were structuring the tyre stints. But yeah, no, they hold in fine. They're not really an issue. The track did seem to degrade a little bit in the middle part of the race though, which probably made us a little bit gun shy to try and do that triple stint as well.
Okay, that's really interesting, and I don't think I've got any more questions for you. I'm thinking I've got to go and watch The Voice. That's how professional I am.
Oh, righto.
Jesus. Oh, I don't know why you'd put that on live broadcasting, but anyway,
congratulations, guys, once again, and I'm sure you guys will be looking forward to the Nürburgring GP in 4 weeks' time.
Oh, see, I stumped them. They're speechless. Did you guys want to give a shout out to all your sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Dynamic Sim Racing, Eclipse Signage, and Dripping Paint Graphics for all their support and help. They contribute massively to our team, and we can't do it without them. So thank you to them. A huge thank you to Alan and his crew who put on the event, and a massive thank you, of course, .com.au. You can't run these events without the support of a quality sponsor like Selby, so we thank them too.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'd just like to say cheers to the 347 and the 348 as well. 347 bridesmaid once again, but they're gonna get one soon.
Yeah, they were really close behind the Selby entry. They were only 4 seconds behind, and that was an interesting race because the Selby Audi, they triple stinted their tyres, where FSR looked like they threw tyres on in the last stop, so they were actually closing in at a great rate of knots. They just ran out of time.
Yeah, I think they would have liked another 10 minutes or so on the clock, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, guys, thanks for popping in, and we'll catch up with you blokes probably in about 4 weeks' time. We're off to the Nürburgring.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, Scott.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Fantastic. Well, folks, before we go off air tonight, let's have a look at the final classes so you can see where your favourite team finished tonight. So Class A went to Fusion Sim Racing 145. We were just interviewing Craig Edwards and Heath Brennan there, and they were also joined by Reece Gardner, who drove that car. In second, Redback Racing Team Black. 6.7 seconds was the gap at the line. TD Racing, the 137, they came home in third. Fourth was Redback Racing Team Red. Fifth, Team VPR. Sixth, LMTI, the 129, and Razorback Races classified in seventh. And the only retirement in Class A was Misfit Motorsports.
Yeah, that's correct, Bernie. And Class B there with Class B, which was the ARM Racing, it was sort of on its own today, and it come home first in the Ford. Frank Rosenbauer for ARM Racing bringing that car home. We had also Laser Racing entering that car, but pretty sure they had a bit of an incident during the race and got a couple of laps down from their rival and just decided to park it. But well done on ARM getting through the 10 hours. I'm sure they will have found that very valuable for their drivers, even if it's just to sort of get used to what setups each driver likes and whether they can make that gel and pit stops and strategy and spotting and all that comes into endurance racing. They would be better for it.
Yeah, and they also got to gauge how competitive that car is against the Ferrari earlier in the race when Laser Racing were leading that class up until their retirement.
Yeah, that's correct.
So now looking at the GT3 class, Selby.com.au Racing, they won that. We heard from Nathan earlier, and I think the gap was 4 seconds back to the 347 Fusion Sim Racing team in second. Third, Proforce Racing GTI. Fourth, Fusion Sim Racing, the 348. Fifth, Tryhards Racing, and the only retirement we had from that was the Lone Wolf Sim Racers.
Yeah, they were an earlier retirement, just on the hour mark, I'm pretty sure. But that GT3 battle is heating up now with Selby back on the top step, so that'll hopefully give them some confidence going forward in the round of the championship. The points are pretty sure are quite close between Fusion and Proforce, where I think Proforce leading the way at the moment. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the way. But Selby were just hanging in there, so this win will hopefully give them some momentum to try and race for that GT3 title.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what once you win, once you get that momentum, you want to keep it going. But folks, also on RRTV tomorrow night, tune in 9:15 p.m. GMT +10 Australian Eastern Standard Time for the Skip Barber Monday Night Lights, and that's the Australian Strength of Field. As I was saying earlier, a lot of Europeans joined us last week. In fact, in the top split we had more international drivers than we did Australian New Zealand drivers, so that's just going from strength to strength. But of course, if you want to continue on with your iRacing viewing pleasure tonight, jump across to V8's Online. They're covering the V8 Scop series tonight, and no doubt it'll be great racing over there as well. But Scott, thanks mate for jumping in the combox with me. It's been a pleasure having you here, and if you weren't here I'd be doing it all by myself.
Yeah, no dramas, Bernie. Thanks for the invitation, and yeah, it's been a great event. As we've said, this simulation is all done on iRacing. So if you are looking for something to, get that need of driving a race car, definitely give iRacing.com a look, and you will not be disappointed. So thanks, Bernie, for allowing me in the commentary box. It's been a great night and a great 10 hours.
Yeah, and thanks to all the viewers who stuck with us today and enjoyed the telecast. As I always say, it's a pleasure catching up with you guys in the chat channel. Hopefully you'll join us again tomorrow night. But if you don't, I hope you have a great work week, and we will hopefully catch up with you soon. But on behalf of Scott Nolan, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye for now.